Monsters from the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a fascinating topic that blends history, science, and a bit of creepy legend. Monsters from the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. Now you might be wondering, monsters? Really? Well, stick around. We're going to explore the eerie myths surrounding Chernobyl and whether there's any truth to these wild stories. Let's get into it. Historical context of the Chernobyl disaster. First off, let's set the stage. On April 26, 1986, the world witnessed one of the worst nuclear disasters in history. An error during a test at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine led to a catastrophic explosion. The aftermath? A massive release of radioactive particles into the atmosphere that affected not just the local area, but went on to impact regions as far away as Europe. Talk about a wake-up call. The nearby city of Pripyat was evacuated, and the whole surrounding area became what we now know as the exclusion zone. This was a place where humans couldn't return, but nature, in a way, would reclaim. The fallout, ecological impact. So what happened next? The exclusion zone became a fascinating case of nature's resilience. While humans were driven away, plants and animals started to flourish in ways no one expected. You would think the radiation would destroy everything, but instead, it created a unique ecosystem. Animals that once roamed the streets of Pripyat now live freely without human interference, giving scientists a rare glimpse into how life can adapt under extreme conditions. Can you imagine a world where deer roam the abandoned amusement parks? It's both haunting and beautiful. Legends and myths surrounding Chernobyl. Now here's where things get spooky. Over the years, Chernobyl and its haunting landscape have inspired all sorts of myths and legends. Locals and thrill seekers alike have spun stories of strange and monstrous creatures lurking in the shadows of the abandoned buildings. We're talking about everything from mutant animals to ghostly apparitions. It's interesting how tales of the paranormal have taken root in the soil of such a tragic event, isn't it? Examining the notion of radiation-induced mutations. But what about the science behind these so-called monsters? Let's break it down. Radiation does have effects on living creatures, and studies have shown that certain species in Chernobyl have experienced mutations. For instance, researchers have found a higher incidence of abnormalities in plants and animals in the area. However, most of these changes are subtle, like the colors of flowers or the size of limbs. It's not the giant three-eyed creature you might find in a movie. To put it simply, while mutations can occur, most of the stories we hear about monstrous transformations are a mix of fact and fiction, fueled by fear and fascination with the unknown, media representations, and cultural impact. Speaking of monstrous tales, it's hard to ignore how Chernobyl has been portrayed in movies, documentaries, and even video games. For example, films like Chernobyl Diaries and HBO's series Chernobyl have brought a lot of attention to the event, showcasing both the horror of the disaster and the mystery surrounding the exclusion zone. While these forms of media often exaggerate for effects, they do shape how we perceive the disaster and the monsters within it. Many of us see these stories as exciting but terrifying, amplifying our intrigue with the unknown. Real and imaginary, distinguishing fact from fiction. So, where does that leave us? It's super important to differentiate between the science and the sensationalism. Many experts in ecology and radiobiology emphasize that while there are interesting cases of adaptations and unique adaptations among species, the grand tales of monstrous beings probably belong more in folklore than reality. All right, folks, let's wrap this up. The story of Chernobyl is a complex tapestry woven with threads of tragedy and survival, and the myths of monsters are simply one part of this intricate story. It reflects our fascination with nature and disaster, and how we often fill in the gaps with tales that captivate our imaginations. What do you think? Are the monsters of Chernobyl real or just figments of our imagination? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Chernobyl's mysteries, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more intriguing tales from the world's most fascinating corners. Until next time, keep exploring the unknown.